Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Jimmy Brooks, and this is my 1998 Acura Integra RS. So not the GSR, not the Type R, but it is the lightest Integra they ever made. I've owned this Integra for almost 3 months now, and it has quickly become my favorite car I've ever owned relative to cost ratio. So I've yet to make a review on it, so let's start it up and go for a drive. So a little bit about the purchase of this car. I'm coming from a 2016 Camaro that I sold about 5 months ago, and that car was a little bit of a money pit, very expensive to own. Fantastic car, it handled honestly like a supercar, but very expensive to own. So when I sold that car, I got all debt out of my life. I was gonna buy my next car cash for sure, but I didn't want to wait around for a long time to save up. So okay, under $5,000, and I had a 1990 Honda Accord that I used for a work car for a couple of years, and that car was so fun. I couldn't believe how fun just an old Honda Accord was. So, you know, of that era, I'm like, okay, well, I know that's not the most fun car they made in that era, so let's find out what is. Everything pointed to the Acura Integra. And I saw that GSRs were, well, first of all, Type Rs were, you know, we can't even get into that because they're all 20 grand and up. But a GSR, you know, they're either all, you know, modified to hell and back and on their last dying leg, or they want $8,000 for a super duper clean one. So I was looking at the regular Integras, and I saw on a couple forums that people say the RS is the one to get because it's actually the lightest Integra they made. So the torque to weight ratio is as good as can be for an Integra, unless you put a new motor in it, like a B20 VTEC or something. So that is very noticeable with this car. It is the torquiest Integra I've driven. So, I mean, just at 3,000 RPMs, you can climb mountains, no problem. As you hear, glorious intake. A little 40 to 70 right there. This car's not slow. This car's not slow at all. I'm so surprised. Now, granted, we have a cat delete and an intake, and you know, that's about it actually for modifications, but that frees up some air. So maybe it's making 150 to the crank, you know, over its stock 140. Hopefully, it's kind of an old car. But the thing about this car and why I think it's the best Honda daily ever, even better than like an S2000, is the way it feels. I mean, you're not even going fast at all, but watch how we go through these gears. And this is with a full tank of gas too. Like, it's just so raw. Like, I've driven, I was deciding between an NA and NB Miata, because, you know, they're a similar price point, and those cars, they feel slow. I mean, they don't even feel fast. Like, it's not like, oh, slow car fast, it's old and tiny, so it kind of feels like it's a little fast, even though it's not. No, they feel really slow. And I know I'm coming from a nearly, you know, 400 pound-feet of torque car with the Camaro and stuff, but it just, I've felt better before. I mean, even my Accord felt a little better. So I wanted to get that feeling back. So, you know, I started looking back into Hondas, and I found this, and bam, this is exactly what I was looking for. It feels way faster than it is, and that is my favorite thing about this car, is the sense of speed for really not that old of a car. We're not talking, you know, old muscle car from the 60s where you get that, obviously, that kind of sense of speed. But, you know, it's still relatively modern. We got power windows. That's about it for the amenities in the interior. I don't even have a radio in here, but at least we got power windows and power steering. We have some basic stuff, and the seats are actually very comfortable. They're pretty good. They're nice and snug. They fit me perfectly, like, you know, 180 kind of guy. And another glorious thing about Hondas, this thing has 270,000 miles on it, and it still revs to the sky and back. It's just, these Honda motors are built so strong, it's crazy. And the shifter is my favorite shifter I've ever felt. You just drop down a gear like butter. I mean, just into, oh yes. Holy shit. We're moving, boy. And you could just pound on these motors all day like that. You can go around canyons. This car is completely stock. You know, you can refer to my last video where I said it's the only stock Integra. In California, for sure, this is the only stock for sale Integra I've seen. I mean, especially with stock suspension and wheels, you know, and obviously the motor, like nothing was touched on this except for a little dinky Mugen shift knob, which I love so much. This car is just so ridiculously good. It just feels so exciting to drive. That shifter, that shifter is money, dude. Like, it feels way better than the Camaro shifter, and that Camaro shifter was really good. It was way better than like the MT86 out of the Mustang. That Camaro shifter felt really, really good. But dude, Honda, you know, people on their high horses will hate me saying this, but I mean, Honda and Porsche, those are the people who make the best shifters. Every time I get in a damn Honda, it's just just butter, dude. Every single time, and I love that. It's the clutch. That's the other input. That's really, really nice. Light as a feather, and the engagement point is just so clean, just so crispy. Just this is the perfect car to teach someone stick on. You know, if you've ever driven any old Honda Civic from this era, it drives as easy as those cars. But this was just the car that Honda, you know, gave more of a shit about. It was just their higher performing car. I mean, it was pretty light at 20. This one is around 2550, I believe, and their suspension is double wishbone all around. It's perfect for heel toe downshifting right into this corner. And one thing I might be forgetting is the sound of Hondas. Now, if you're not going to get a V6 or an inline-6 or a V8 or anything else, if you're strapped to go with a 4-cylinder for your fun car, you're probably going to be doomed with terrible sound. 4-cylinders are not the best sounding engines. They're probably one of the worst. But there's a few exceptions, like the Fiat Abarth, the 500 Abarth. That thing sounds pretty fun and wild for what it is. And along with that, Honda engines, when just an intake is put on them and not an exhaust, not a fart can. Honestly, I have the stock muffler from 1998. The stock muffler's on this car with a cat delete, so it's a little deeper, and an AEM short ram air intake, AEM short ram air intake, and that's the sound you guys keep hearing is a beautifully set up conservative Honda exhaust note. Intake note, actually, sorry. All right, here we go. Let's go up this little mountain here. Thing's pretty quick. Now, if I were to give one fault to this car, it's that it doesn't handle as good as a Miata. I mean, the Miatas are, you know, shorter wheelbase, lighter. You know, it's the classic roadster formula, so they're going to handle a little sharper, and it's rear-wheel drive. But I mean, this car, it's more of a daily setup. I mean, honestly, this hatch, being, you know, the hatch version, it fits my entire 7-piece drum set. So if for some reason my other car's not working, I can always throw it in here and actually get to a gig. But if you want to know the real one true reason why I ended up in this car and not a Miata, as far as the NA and the NB and even the ND, I don't fit in them. My hair touches that top, that soft top, every single time. I do, however, fit in the NC. I do like those cars a lot, and they actually are coming down in value quite a bit. You can get a nice ass one for, you know, $5,000–6,000. But other than those cars, this is the most fun car that I've been in, under $5,000, that I fit in. I mean, I could wear a helmet in here if I really wanted to go full blast track setup in this. I probably won't get to that, but it's just so roomy. You can fit 2 normal sized people in here. We have a center console. We have a glove box. Like we have so much storage capacity. It's a really good setup. And it does rotate around corners beautifully. It's a good sound in 4-cylinder. It's a nice growly little 4-cylinder. It's pretty satisfying. So getting a little more specific about the purchase price, I got this for $1,800. and it was totally functional, like totally driving Integra. Had a couple issues, but I've put about $1,500 into this, I'd say, with registration, doing these inspection things, a couple modifications with the cat and the intake, and then the rest is just repairs. So total out the door, I'm probably in this car like $3,300, and I mean, what a great car. It's just been so fun. And, you know, this isn't even really technically my daily. I am kind of treating this as my fun car, especially with the mileage. You know, 270K, like that was a lot. So, you know, I'm sure a motor is in this car's future. If I sold this car, it would be at a pretty high price, because you don't really see too many of these anymore, and not a clean one like this. So it would be at, you know, a pretty high price. And if someone actually bought it for that, I'd probably end up going with the NC Miata, because I did drive one the other day. It was fantastic, more modern, not quite as raw feeling as this car, but it makes more sense just from a mileage standpoint, and you know, you get more of a modern car. Oh, and you don't have to deal with the theft. That is one thing about these Integras. These are stolen, you know, per car, like, you know, as far as like percentage of cars made to how many were stolen, these Integras are the worst. So if you could find a really clean example of a GSR for sale in your area, that would be the way to go. It's a little bit more special of a motor. You know, it revs to 8,000. That's fantastic. This one only revs to 7. So that would be the way to go. If everyone's charging an arm and a leg for those, the Integra RS is the one to get, because even more so than the GSR, this will feel a little torquier, because they put a cam in this car that is geared for more of a, you know, daily driver use. So you'll get a lot of that torque from 3,000 to 6,000 RPM, versus the GSR, you'll get it, you know, from 5,000 to 8,000 RPM. So this is a little torquier and lighter throughout the city, which is nice. So you can really move around people pretty easily in this car. Just, I mean, tiny dip into the throttle and we're off. It's got real good torque at 4,000, and then 5,000 keeps carrying to about 6, and then it starts dying off around 6.5. But really good. So my overall thoughts on this car is that if you don't mind front wheel drive, this is the car to get if you don't fit in a Miata. This is the one. End of story. I mean, you could go get, you know, a V6 Mustang, or maybe, I mean, the rattiest 350Z ever. But, you know, as far as cars under like $4,000, Hondas are the way to go. And this is just kind of a better Honda. I really like the suspension setup from the factory on this car. It looks better. It's more unique. You won't see these on, you know, every corner. You'll see the EG hatch Civics everywhere you go, but not a ton of Integras. And other Integra owners will wave to you in the secret little Integra club. But we'll do one last tiny little pull, and yep, and that sums up this little Honda. Angry little Integra. And I like little spastic angry cars. You know what other car is kind of frantic? The Fiesta ST, and that's why I liked that car so much. This drives nothing like that at all, but it has that pissed off motor kind of feel to it, and I like my engines a little pissed off, like the GT350 I drove, like a Camaro SS. And yeah, turbocharged cars don't really have that characteristic to them. They're so smoothed out. You just get this giant shove of torque in the middle, and you don't get that screaming angry engine. So that's my thoughts. NA is the way, as the Mandalorian would say. So that's going to conclude this review. I think that's all my thoughts on it, and I highly recommend an Integra, the second gen, or sorry, not second gen, but the 1994 to 2002. I'm pretty sure that's the generation. Could be wrong on that, but around there, those are when they made some good ass Integras. So yeah, I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. See ya.